Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode on Beyond the Touchline. This is the pre-game week show for Gameweek 18. As always, 10 games to talk about. Drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying the series, and of course subscribe if you're new around here. But yeah, let's jump right in. As always, to recap from the previous game week, the table, straightforward. Liverpool still winning their games. Southampton still not scoring points, scoring enough points. They did get a point though against Fulham. City lost again. Nottingham, Bournemouth, Villa still flying. Chelsea, Arsenal doing great as well. Chelsea, I think that draw against Everton to me was not good enough. But otherwise, teams like Tottenham, Brentford, Man United all picked up defeats. Not very good. West Ham drawing against Brighton. I'm still sitting on the fence with that one. Fulham poor to draw with Southampton. But Palace, I think, are lucky to lose in that fashion against Arsenal. But Leicester thrashed by Wolves. That's not very good either, is it, for Leicester? Great for Wolves with new manager, with Victor Pereira coming in. Yep, that's it for the table. As for the statistics, I mean, we talked about this as well in the post-game show for the last video. Salah flying, 15 goals, 11 assists. Haaland still missing since his 13th goal. It's not good enough, obviously. Palmer, Isak, I mean, hat-trick for him against Ipswich to catapult him up the Golden Boot standings. But yeah, that's it really for the statistics. Nothing much to talk about. Will we see changes for this week? Maybe, as those people start scoring goals. I mean, these players start scoring goals and getting more assists. The table would change. Now, as for the fixtures, we have 10 games. Start things off with Man City, Everton. Following that up with Newcastle, Villa. Then Forest, Tottenham. Bournemouth, Palace. Chelsea, Fulham. Southampton, West Ham. Wolves, Man United, Liverpool, Leicester. Brighton, Brentford. And to wrap the game week off, we'll have Arsenal and Ipswich Town. So let's jump right in and to see what are my predictions. Well, of course, to start things off with City and Everton. Now, I think when we look at this game, I am a bit concerned because not only how bad City's form has been, but also Everton just pretty good at getting 0-0 draws at this point, and there is a worry that Everton will probably do the same. Pickford is just on form again, even when City have good chances. That will still jeopardise City's potential of getting a win. But again, delusional fan here, still believing that City are able to somehow turn a game around, at least at the bare minimum. I've put a 2-0 win. Don't know if it's going to happen, to be honest. I'm going to watch this game, but in my opinion, is it going to be possible? Tight. Based on what I'm seeing again from this club, City, it's going to be difficult to even eke out a good result ultimately. But I mean, Everton are just not that good. I see this as like a relegation 6-pointer game in my opinion. I mean, City, as I said, they've shown relegation form. So to look at this game and think City are going to get a win, I think it's going to be a huge result from their perspective. As for Everton, I think anything that allows them to have points from this game, I think is again another great result from Everton. But I think if I were to be a little bit more, obviously pessimistic, but I can't be realistic either. But I think if I were to give a prediction for this game, if I weren't this delusional, I honestly would put 0-0. I mean, considering how poor City have been, I think 0-0 would have been a result that we have seen. Yeah, I just don't think. Now, I hope I don't jinx it, but I just don't think City are going to concede another 2 goals in this game, in another game. So I don't want to talk about it really, but delusional 2-0 win. Let's move on to the next game, shall we? You'll let City do the talking on the pitch, if there's going to be any. Right, Newcastle Villa. Obviously, Newcastle at the back of a 4-0 thrashing against Ipswich, and Villa back of a 2-1 win against City. This will be a really interesting game, to be honest. I mean, Villa and Newcastle are not separated by much in the Premier League table. And I think in terms of the form, I think it's been roughly similar to a certain extent. Again, one could possibly say that it's going to be tight, of course, between these two clubs. But my take on it is that Newcastle are going to have to win. I think Newcastle are going to win 2-1. Now, the rationale behind that is that, I mean, they're playing at home. I think Isak is on brilliant form right now. Yes, Villa were great against City, but just not exactly too sure how they're going to try the best to bring the best out of themselves again against Newcastle. Yes, of course, I think Newcastle have also been very consistent, don't get me wrong. But I just think, being at home, the crowd's going to back them up. And I feel Isak is going to continue that really good run of form that he's having. But I think he's going to score, maybe at least a goal. At least. But I mean, he scores 2 and above. And that'll be also brilliant from his perspective. But I just think Newcastle, they just have a better edge against Villa. There's something about this team that I think maybe Villa will not be able to handle. but it should be a tight game in my opinion. But I mean, based on how I've been predicting, that's not always the case of how games go, right? But yeah, I just think in this case, I think Newcastle probably stand a better chance to win against Villa than the other way around. So I think I've just put more confidence really into Newcastle. But Villa, do I think they stand a chance? Yes, of course they do. Considering, I mean, the stature of both teams, I think the quality is pretty similar. But yeah, I just think Newcastle have the upper hand on this one. But it's prediction, right? It might be wrong. Should be wrong, I guess. Right, Newcastle, Tottenham. This one will be really, really tough in my opinion. I mean, Newcastle, Nottingham, flying, as I've said. Tottenham on the back of a defeat, a heavy defeat, I guess, against Liverpool. Again, is my confidence with Tottenham? No. Is my confidence with Nottingham? Yes. I just don't think Tottenham are going to threaten Nottingham that much. But again, if Nottingham put up a performance like how they did against City, because they lost 3-0 in that game, then yes, probably Tottenham would stand a good chance of winning. But in my opinion, I think Nottingham Forest are able to put in a much better performance than Tottenham. Tottenham are just really inconsistent, and the form that they're having is just diabolical in my opinion. And they're not able to give me enough confidence to say that they're going to come into each game and start to fight. But I think it could be tight. Again, I'm going with these really, really tight scorelines here. And I think Nottingham are probably just going to sneak out a win. Maybe there are bits of Tottenham which can be frightening. I mean, based on what we see, against Liverpool, they scored 3 goals. That suggests to me that there are bits of Tottenham that they're able to push forward. But to not concede goals, I'm not exactly too sure. And I think in terms of the goalkeeper, Fraser Forster, obviously Vicario being injured, Fraser Forster hasn't been a very good service to Tottenham. They've been conceding a lot of goals with him in goal. So maybe that trend is probably going to continue. Yeah, I just think I have a little bit more confidence in Nottingham than Tottenham. So I think that's how the result's going to go. But I think a draw would be also a really good result for both teams, really. But of course, I hope Nottingham gets the win. Right, Bournemouth and Palace. Now, if you asked me about this game like last season, I'd say this game will be pretty tight because of how both clubs, I think, similar levels, similar form back then. But now, Bournemouth are brilliant. Palace can be good, but again, now with 2 defeats, obviously, despite both being against Arsenal, but otherwise, they had a pretty good run in the Premier League prior to Arsenal. But I think, again, now we're looking at the quality and the confidence that is coexistent within both clubs. Bournemouth clearly have the upper hand here, without a shadow of a doubt. Bournemouth are bound to do better than Palace, in my opinion. If they don't get a win, I think it's a poor result from Bournemouth's perspective. So 2-0, I think, is a good result to have. And again, 3-0 against Man United. Come on, man. Just replicate that result against Palace. But yeah, I think Bournemouth are just going to be as good as they've been so far this season. Going to be challenging, going to be competitive, and going to get 2 goals. Just going to win the game, essentially. I think Palace, they might have a chance or two, but I just don't think they're going to trouble Bournemouth enough to even try to snatch a point. But as I said, if Palace manages to get a point any more than 0 points, it's a great result from Palace and a poor result in Bournemouth. Now, Chelsea-Fulham, of course, as I said, disappointing from Chelsea when they drew against Everton, and this is a London derby, isn't it? Chelsea and Fulham, and one could argue, yeah, Fulham are probably going to put in a lot more effort, wouldn't they? It's a derby, you want to just try to have a bit of glory, a bit of pride here. But at Stamford Bridge, do Fulham stand a chance? Probably not. I think Chelsea are going to have the upper hand. But do I think it's going to be straightforward? Again, probably not. I've gone with another tight scoreline of 2-1 here. I just think that, yeah, Chelsea are going to have the upper hand. Chelsea are going to have the quality. Again, as I said, last game, they really should have won. Obviously, courtesy of Pickford. That's why they probably didn't get a goal or 2. But this one, I think they've really just got to go all in. I think there's a bit of fire in them to win a game again. I think this is their chance to do so. So 2-1 win for me, or at least a bare minimum should be a win for Chelsea. I think Fulham just don't have that quality to fight against Chelsea for this weekend, or at least this game week. But I'm not sure if the score managed to show itself when I was talking about Chelsea-Fulham. I'll know this in the edit. But in case I didn't, I mean, you can see scoreline now. 2-1 to Chelsea. That's my prediction. Right now, Southampton and West Ham. Now, this one, again, new manager coming in, Ivan Juric, for Southampton. I don't know how it's going to go for this one. Again, based on how new managers have performed, and West Ham again facing a new manager, it's going to be challenging, isn't it? But Southampton being Southampton so far this season, I just don't think they're going to be competitive. It's going to be really difficult. But I mean, I could be proven wrong once again. My prediction is that it's going to be a 3-0 win for West Ham, which would be a very sad game to start off his tenure, Ivan Juric, at the club. But I think it's good to have these sort of problems, in my opinion, to just show that that is what the situation is at the club. But of course, don't get me wrong, the stalemate with Fulham was a great result, you know, to get 0-0, to get a point out of that game. Brilliant. Yeah, but to me at least, despite this game being at home, I've a little bit of confidence in West Ham, I guess, question mark. See what Lopetegui cooks again for this one. But I think if we were to really compare quality, West Ham should be winning this rather comfortably and rather substantially, in my opinion. That's my take on it. We'll see what happens, of course. But yeah, my confidence is with West Ham. Of course, a bit of biasness. I mean, I do support the club as well. But ultimately, I just think that, yeah, I mean, quality, they should be winning. Again, if West Ham draw or lose this game, it's a poor result from West Ham. And again, you would see my criticism on Lopetegui once again. Wolves and Manchester United. Now, again, what do we think about this one? Wolves on the back of 3-0 win. Manchester United on the back of 3-0 defeat. I don't know. I mean, is Victor Pereira going to pull off another win again? A back-to-back wins? Maybe. At Man United, is Amorim going to see changes at the club that could see them get another win? Maybe. It's hard to tell. It's very hard to predict, isn't it? Again, the uncertainty coming into this game is very high, in my opinion. How both clubs perform is going to be tough, despite Man United having a lot more points than Wolves. But I mean, looking at how both teams have played, it's very hard to tell really how it's going to go. I've gone with what I call this conservative, or just me, just not too sure what's going to happen. But I put in this 1-1 game. Now, whoever wins this game, great on them. And I think it's just an opportunity for the other team to look and reflect on it. Wolves is like expected to lose, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But Man United, another loss means another the pressure mounting on Amorim again, despite being very early on in his tenure. Again, as I said, the expectation of Amorim to perform immediately, considering what he's done at Sporting and the hype that United fans have put him in. Maybe that's really gotten into him. But I think a 1-1 draw in this case is not a bad result. Not the worst result in the world, but not a bad result either, in my opinion. And it's not a good result for sure from Man United's perspective. You expect them to win against Wolves, but I think considering how things have been, maybe a draw isn't the worst for them. But again, it's a prediction nonetheless. But if I were to bet on who stood a chance of winning, like a higher chance of winning, I think it's Man United. So if I were to bet my money on who will win, a high chance of winning, it will be Manchester United. But yeah, I think now I'm just going to go with 1 draw and see how the game performs and see how both teams actually perform in that game. Now, Liverpool-Leicester, I think this one is straightforward for me. I don't think you need to say anything more. I expect Liverpool to win this rather comfortably, to continue. Good run of form. Again, if there's a shock in this result, I will be shocked as well. Unfortunately for Leicester, I don't think they'll be competitive whatsoever in this game, unless somehow Root sparks magic, really. But otherwise, straightforward for me. 2-0 win. Liverpool are expected to continue their good run of form. Expected to keep a clean sheet for this one. Just doing really well. Liverpool, I expect them to win every game from now on, pretty much. Unless it's a really tough one. But yes, 2-0 win for Liverpool. That's my take on it. I don't think Leicester are going to fight, really. Yeah, nothing more to add this one. I think it's that straightforward. Brentford. Now, this one will be another tight game. Both teams on the back of just sheer inconsistency. Not exactly too sure how the games are going to pan out for both of them. Again, Brighton, what are they going to do now? I mean, they've not won the last 5 Premier League games. They really just want to come into this one and try to get a win. Brentford, I mean, yes, they're a bit inconsistent, but back of a defeat, they also want to try to get a win. What is my take on this one? I think Brighton are going to lose. I actually picked Brentford to win 2-1. I just don't know, really. I mean, it could be the other way around. I think, again, a lot of uncertainty is within this game itself because of how it's very hard to predict. Like, have Brighton played really bad games across the season? I don't think so. I think Brighton have been okay, have been steady in terms of what they're doing. And I think when they're able to attack, they've shown a good amount of prowess. But then they've just not been consistent, not being able to convert as well as they've been at the start of the season. And as for Brentford, it's also something like that. But I just think that maybe Brentford could do a little bit better than that. I think Brentford are able to create chances and convert them arguably slightly better than Brentford. But Brighton. But don't get me wrong, I really like Brighton's football. I just think it's really competitive. It's just that I think there's something wrong that, you know, the manager still needs to fix within that team. And I just don't see them being fixed this game. If despite playing at home, I just feel that Brentford might be able to sting. A bit of a pun there, considering they have a Hornet or B in their logo. But honestly, I think Brentford are going to sting Brighton again for this one. Miseries are going to be compounded at Brighton. But could this be their last defeat, I guess, before the last drop points game before they start to push forward? Maybe, I mean, depending who the next opponent is. But my take on it is that, yeah, this is how it might go. Of course, if Brighton do win, I think that is, again, a huge sigh of relief for all the players. You know, they've been fighting so hard, and, you know, to get a win for them is going to be great. But I just think Brentford are going to have the upper hand here. But I mean, it's a prediction again. You know, I always say it's week in, week out, and it's just how I feel like the clubs are performing and coming to this game. You know, you've got to expect some games to have a high level of uncertainty, like this one, Wolves, Man United as well, and potentially Nottingham Forest and Tottenham. I think that's very uncertain as well, and Villa, Newcastle too. So, but this one, yeah, I just think Brentford are probably going to sneak a win out of this one. And of course, to wrap it off, Arsenal, Ipswich. Again, I don't really want to say much. I think it's going to be straightforward. Arsenal's form is also pretty good. Now, is 4-0 win too much for Ipswich to take? No, I don't think so. I mean, they've lost 4-0 against Newcastle. And to come against Arsenal, I think the confidence is going to be low. I don't think they're going to fight again. But, you know, because Arsenal have also been pretty free-flowy in terms of how when they score. So, yeah, I think this one pretty straightforward as well, really. But last time I said straightforward for some teams, I mean, it didn't happen. So, yeah, 4-0 is a really satisfying result for Arsenal, but I just expect them to win to just get the result across the line, really. Again, draw or a defeat from Arsenal? No. That's a no for me. Especially again when you're trying to close down Liverpool and Chelsea, who I've also expected them to both win their games. You just want to keep on fighting. You want to be as close to them as possible as you're playing the games. So that's my take on it, really. Ipswich, going to be unfortunate for them because it's going to be another defeat. But again, I guess it's arguably expected considering the stature of how the games and the fixtures are coming in for Ipswich. I just don't think they're going to be competitive. So unfortunate for them. They're going to have to pick up another defeat. Whether or not it's going to be a heavy one is very dependent on how they play that game. But who knows, right? It might just shock us and surprise us with a shock result. So, but again, I just don't think the probability of that happening is just too low for me to even put that result in. So yes. But that'll be it, guys. As you can tell, I think I've put in results that are a lot more safe, or I think results that, at least the outcome, right? I think there are outcomes that maybe we would expect compared to last weekend when I tried to put in some curveballs, which obviously didn't happen. Now this could be the other way around. I tried to put in safer results, and then curveballs happen in this weekend, this game week at least. I mean, Boxing Day can prove to be really, really fun. Some of the results in the past couple of years have proven to be shocking for some of the games, and who knows, it might just be happening the same again for this one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some of the games, namely City and Everton. I really hope we can get a win again. But yeah, with that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and of course, get discussing in the comments down below really how delusional I am, or how crazy I am on thinking about certain things of how the games are going to pan out. But yeah, that'll be it from me for this one. Of course, drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new around here, and of course, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.